Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you watched the last video where I introduced the concept of FAISS, FAISS, Facebook AI Similarity Search, and how the IVF version, method within FAISS can be very helpful in optimizing our image retrieval search or any vector database search. So we're building on top of that. I mean, you can follow this video without that, but it makes more sense if you know what FAISS is all about. So we're going to build a image retrieval with vision transformers and FAISS. And in fact, the first video that this all journey started was with VGG16 with cosine similarity. And now we are talking about vision transformers and FAISS, right? Which sounds more like 2024, 2025. Right, and not 2018 timeframe. Technology advances so fast. And if you want to learn more about these things, it makes sense for you to hit the subscribe button right now. Pause the video, hit the subscribe button. And while you're there, try to find the thanks button if you really are generous and are benefiting from these videos. Okay, now the first couple of minutes, I'm going to go through a couple of slides providing a background, just like I've done in the last two videos, and then we'll jump into the code to get this thing done with. And all the code is going to be shared with you. Look at the description down below. You'll find the link to this code. And if you use this for your research or whatever purposes, and the citation also is on my GitHub link, how to cite my work in case you are using it for your research and other purposes. So, okay, that's a long introduction. Let's get into it. So what do you see on the screen? On the left-hand side, you see a representation of vision transformer. I'm not going to get too much into vision transformers, but hopefully you know what transformer architecture is. Even if not, everyone knows GPT. And T there stands for transformer, and that's what we're using it instead of for natural language. Obviously, we're using it for vision purposes. So we're going to extract features using a vision transformer. I'll explain why I prefer this over VGG16, like I mentioned in a couple of videos ago. And we're going to feed those features to as vectors to our FAISS indexing, and also followed by the searching. Okay, so by that I mean the query, right? I mean the screen, you see a very quick representation, like you have a whole bunch of images and you're extracting a bunch of vectors. And to extract those vectors, we are using the vision transformer, and we store them in a, let's say, indexing. I don't want to call it database, but an index. And you have a query image that you are also extracting features from. And those features, that vector, is going to be queried against the index, and the result is going to be whatever the matches are. That's it. Very simple. Now, how do we go about it? First of all, I want to talk about the vision transformer. I should have animated this. Too much text at once kind of confuses me, but follow along starting with the top, from the top. So why did I switch to ViT from VGG16? Well, vision transformers, they process the entire image simultaneously through this mechanism called self-attention, right? Unlike CNNs, which process them like in a local way. So we include a bit more global context right there, and which results in better feature relationships because the attention mechanisms capture the long-range dependency, right? That's why they're good at large language models. You know, they are good at understanding the long range, and they don't forget like halfway through the sentence, like, oh, what was I talking about? Well, sometimes they do, but they work in a very robust way, as you know. And they also have hierarchical understanding, right? It learns the hierarchical representation of different image patterns, so it captures. Basically, it comes down to the fact that they're better at capturing features. That's it. And state of the art, because they generally outperform CNNs, and everyone's talking about transformers. That's also a good reason to use. You know, you got to fit in. You got to be cool. So this is another reason. And scalability, they scale with model size and data. Although in my example, I'm going to use ViT B16, which means at the end of the feature extraction, you'll get 768 dimensional feature vector. So 768 size vector is going to be going into your FAISS. Now, why FAISS? Again, we discussed. So this is our initial vector space where red dot shows you where the solution is, and the green dots shows you, red dot shows you where the query is, green dots show you where the solutions are, the top 3 solutions using cosine similarity. This is the next screen, by the way. Look at the top. This is L2. This is cosine. This is L2. Both give identical results. But if you look at FAISS IVF, they also give identical results, but much faster. Yeah, that's because it divides this entire space into how many ever clusters that you tell it to divide into. Although it's normal to actually do, like for smaller data sets, like I usually do square root of how many ever indexes I have. Like let's say I have 100 images that I want to search through. Then I divide that into 10 clusters. Although once you go into like billions, then you may have to do 2 times the square root of n or 3 times or whatever. I'll leave that up to you. Although I did end up, I think in my code, like 4 times square root of n. Probably we'll go back and check. So what do we get at the end of the day? Like what are we building? You provide a input image and it tells you what it tells you is the right hand side. I put these for visualization purposes. It tells me that, okay, the first match is a similarity score of 82% almost and a distance of 0.221. And the next one, distance of 0.256. And look at the distance metric and the similarity score for the zebra. In cosine similarity, these values are, you still end up with the same results, but the values are very similar. In terms of similarity score here, there is a big difference, from 0.8, like 80% to 36%. That's a big jump. That tells you this is definitely does not belong with these two. So if your images don't differ by a lot, they differ slightly, then IVF, this approach is also a very good approach compared to other cosine similarity and other methods. Okay, so with this knowledge, I think let's go ahead. We are ready to jump into the code. And just like in the VGG16 plus cosine, I do have 3 different files. Here you can combine them into single if you want, but one is feature extractor. Very simple and straightforward. Like I mentioned, I'm using ViT and from Torch Vision. So I switched from TensorFlow to PyTorch here. Obviously for VGG16, I believe I was using TensorFlow because it's the easiest API. Torch Vision, Torch a bit more difficult for beginners, to get used to this. But anyway, I'm using ViT, B16 and corresponding weights, right? So this is the model and these are the weights that I'm importing from Torch Vision. And that's it. Everything else should be pretty straightforward. And as we go through this, I wanted to highlight a couple of these. First of all, I also added like the CUDA compatibility just in case if you want to run this on a GPU. I hope there is not much you need to change, although I'm going to show this on a CPU right now. So it's basically a few lines of code. As you can see, the model we are defining is ViT-B16 with the weights that we just downloaded. That's it, right? Once you have that, you have a feed forward right there. And then model to device is basically, if it's GPU, you're pushing the model into whatever the memory device you're using, and feature dimensions is 768. Why 768? Because for this model that we're going to use, that is kind of fixed. Okay, and transform, because these models actually take in an input size of 224 by 224. We are going to, whatever the input image, we're going to resize them into these, and we are going to normalize them with this mean and the standard deviation. Again, these are all the pre-processing steps for that specific model. If you're using a different model, go ahead and see what the pre-processing needs to be and what the input size are, and obviously do handle those accordingly. Now feed forward, of course, what comes in is your image, and you're actually, this is basically a forward pass to get the embeddings, right? Instead of classification. So you want an embedding, you want a vector, you don't want a classification result. So we are defining that right here. But when you go down, for feature extraction, of course, image comes in, you're loading an image. And if it's not, because this takes a 3-channel image, RGB image as input. So if you provide a grayscale image, then obviously we need to convert that into an RGB image. And we are doing the transform and squeeze to get the arrays the correct shape. And then we are applying the model onto the input image, which gives you the features. And then we are kind of pushing the features into NumPy, or converting the features into NumPy. And we are looking at the shape right there. And we are normalizing the features using our L2 normalization. So that's what this line is about. And we are returning features. So all this is nothing but applying the model onto your image, getting the features, normalizing the features, returning the features. That's it. This is the entire feature extractor code. Okay. Once the features are extracted, we need to use them as part of our retrieval system. That's what the next part of the code is. So this can be a bit more elaborate, but still not thousands of lines of code. We are importing our FAISS library, right? And from the feature extractor, which we just described, we're going to get the feature extractor and the image data set right there. And we are going to go through the code in a second, use GPU and all that stuff. But where is the meat of this code? So here we are applying FAISS, IndexIVFFlat. How are you indexing all these? I don't know how many ever images you have. In my case, I'm demonstrating using 13 images. You can have 13 billion images. How are you indexing it? Using IndexIVFFlat from FAISS. Okay, so you're indexing using this, and it takes quantizer as an input. And for quantizer, we are using IndexFlat F2 as the quantizer, and then the number of dimensions and number of regions you want to divide this into. These are the regions that our query vector is searching, these for. And how do you define this number of regions? We'll go through that in a second. I mean, you can hard code and say, I want 20 regions, right? But then 20 regions for 10 billion images doesn't make sense. You need more regions, yeah? Otherwise, your search may result in wrong results. Okay, and this is basically about GPU. Yeah, so how do you want to index images? We are going to supply 32 images at a time, although in my case I have 13. In the next video, I'm going to show you on a slightly larger image data set. In the next video, by the way, I'm going to take this code and wrap it into a GUI, so you can use it as an application if you don't want to code it yourself. So wait for that video. And number of workers 4, if you have 4 CPUs. Now, what else? We are providing image path and process images one by one. You're taking one image at a time, feed forward, get the features, go ahead and index it using our FAISS indexing and save it into the .faiss file, right? That's exactly what's going on up there. And we are saving those into the metadata into a JSON file, if I'm not wrong. So at the end of the day, you should have the .faiss file and .json. So that gives you everything, the full information about what we're trying to achieve here. Okay, and so that's indexing. So there are two things going on here. You're indexing and you can also search. These are the two functions that I'm defining here. So searching is again very similar. You actually have a query features. You take your query image, you extract the features from the query image, and then the search index. Basically, initially I was having an error, so I changed the k to not exceed the number of images itself. So that's the safety code right there, and the results are being prepared for display over there. And what else do I have? And basically the saving part. I'm not sure if there is any good use of time to actually going through this line by line, because most of this is self-evident, but there is a couple of things I want to show you in the actual execution part. So here, obviously, we have a retrieval system, so we are going to import that, those methods here. And by the way, I'm doing logging for this one and not just a print statements, just to make sure I have the full details, because I'm going to convert this into a GUI application later on, which I may have to support if I put it on GitHub and all other places. So I may as well do this in a nice traceable way. Okay, so this is the one, how to define the optimal number of regions. In this case, I defined them as square root of n for small data sets and 4 times of square root of n for larger ones. And it's up to you how you would like to define these. And then the next thing is basically printing out. And to run the retrieval from this line, I basically added 2 tasks. One, either index it or or search, right? There are two things we can do. If we are indexing it, go ahead and run this block of code. And if we are searching, go ahead and run this block of code. Or it's basically nothing, but it's calling the functions that we defined or the methods that we defined in this screen over here. Retrieval system, part of the code. Okay, so finally it comes down to testing it. So let's go ahead and actually do indexing first. And if I open my directory right here, so this is the 3 pieces of code I'm going to share with you. And these are all images. Believe me, I tested this on more images. I do not have permission to share those images via these videos. I'm going to, these are just the ones that I downloaded from Google search. I'm using it for this purpose. I'll delete it after I'm done. So be mindful of licenses when you're using data that you don't own, like images. Okay, so these are the 13 images that I'm using to index, and to actually query, I have different images. These are, none of these are same in the other ones. So Tiger 3 is sleeping or sitting right there. And if I go back, the 2 variations of tiger I have here are standing, and then I have zebras and other stuff. Okay, so that's the information. So it should be saving our index files right here. So let's go ahead and start indexing using all images folder, and then we're not searching yet, we're just indexing. So let's go ahead and do this, and the screen should print out. Yeah, obviously I'm using CPU, and it should go through each of these images. Indexing usually takes time. You see how it's on CPU it's taking so much time even per image. Just imagine having a billion images, right? On CPU it's not practical. Try to do this on GPU if you are putting this to production, basically. Okay, so now if I open the same directory again, we should see the .files and .metadata.json file. And this is the one that we're going to import and perform search on, if you remember. Okay, so let's change my index to search. There must be a better way. In fact, I should probably create something where you can run this from command line, but for demonstration purposes, this is pretty good. Okay, so we are searching using tiger3.jpg, and we are loading the index metadata right there. Yeah, there's nothing to change, I guess. Show top 5 results, fine. And specify number of, yeah, I'm searching. I mean, this is basically how many regions of all the regions you have, that you would like to search. So that's an optional parameters that you can enter, and it is performing the search. And let's hope that the result is, I don't have to hope, I know this works. Tiger 2 with 81 or 82%, the same numbers that you saw earlier as part of the presentation. This one 80%, and then it drops to 36%. You see the 2 zebras are 36% and the monkey is 35%. So you can clearly tell, hey, these are not matches, but the top 2 are the best matches right here. So I hope you have special appreciation to, if not Vision Transformers, to FAISS and IVF version of the FAISS library. Hopefully you can put this to good use. I'm going to put the link to the code down below. You can use it for image retrieval, or instead of images, you can supply some other type of data and then convert that into a vector. Because after all, FAISS is all about vector database indexing and searching and making search easy for you. So hopefully all of that made sense. If you have any comments, I encourage you to drop your comments down below. Thank you very much. Let's meet in the next tutorial where I show you a GUI version of pretty much the same thing.